Thank you for joining Invisible Man 733 premiere podcast. Identity is the topic. And to begin, you'll see images of one of our past identities. Next is a clip of a product which dominated our lives for centuries. Our honored ancestor, the subject of our first discussion, will say a few words himself, followed by a modern day abolitionist sharing how her work helped in making our self chosen identity reality. Invisible Man 733 meets the blind man. The entire clip will be shown with comments to complete the program.
When I get to heaven, going to sing on.
There are about 9 million Negroes in our southern states, and the majority of them live on farms. While many of these farmers have achieved independence and perhaps prosperity, all too many barely make a living. In common with all other southern farmers, they have suffered from a train of evils that have their roots in poor farming, particularly one-crop farming.
He got to get out and work now.
How old is he?
59.
How much money is he making?
He might make $30 this week.
What about the machines?
They doing that. I think we got it's 5 or 6 running now, picking cat on this place.
Has that put a lot of people out of work?
Sure do. Sure do. I tell you, it's just put them all out of work on this place, excusing the tractor boy. Sure will. Ain't nothing for them to do.
For everything that they picked for $2 or $3 a hundred, I could have done the same thing with this machine and picked for nothing. Let's not deal in numbers, let's deal in percentages. For instance, I would say that just this year, my workforce was reduced about 50%. And yet I was able to handle the entire operation much easier than I had in the past. But primarily because of the use of these chemicals that we use in weed control. This has been the real breakthrough in the farm area, and the elimination of this handwork is the chemicals that have come along. And I don't argue the fact that that they should have this money, but it's still an economic fact that I have got to make a profit as well. Here are 2 machines that sell for $20,000 apiece. So like any other businessman, I think when the time comes, we try to eliminate as many of our expenses as we have and try to increase that profit margin.
I am not sure that I am worthy of this splendid citation, but I wish to say also that I thank you from the depths of my heart.
This is the Invisible Man, and I have with me today Mr. Charles Michaud, who is a classically trained stage actor who was performing in New York in the play Road to the Mountaintop, covering the life and times of Martin Luther King Jr., where he had an epiphany during a stage performance, causing him to retire from acting and relocate to Baltimore, Maryland. So, what was so tremendous as you were on the stage? And what is an epiphany? Could you talk to us about it for a minute?
Yes, it. I was I was on the stage, and it was the last night of the show, and I saw Dr. King's face, and I heard a voice, and it said, "What are you going to do? You know my story. What are you going to do now?" And then I just broke down and I started crying, and I couldn't stop crying. And the next 2 weeks, I had a I just was thinking about how I had never done anything for my community. I had never paid attention to a homeless person. But when I did that play about Dr. King, um, it awakened something inside of me that that just turned my whole life around.
So, let me ask you, you said it awakened something in you,
Hmm.
and it was what made you think of uh, George Washington Carver if you were doing something on Dr. King? I'm trying to get the connection.
Well, I had earlier on, I had done a play about George Washington Carver, and that that play just made me love George Washington Carver. Um, I think I think the reason that I felt so strongly about Dr. King was I was 40 years old, and when you're when you're 40, you look at your life a lot differently than when you're 25.
Yes, sir.
So so and the other thing is that Dr. King, he came from a very wealthy family, and he could have been anything. He could have done anything he wanted to do. He had a he had a wonderful life laid out for him, but yet he went to jail 30 times
Hmm.
and he never committed a crime.
Hmm.
And he went to jail those 30 times so little black boys like me could go to the university of their choice, could, if you could afford it, ride first class on an airplane. You could go to the hospital and get taken care of.
Hmm.
All of these things, and I just was saying to them, when you're an actor, you live a very privileged life, and it's you're and when you start making money, you actually become spoiled,
Is that
and
is that so?
yeah, and when that's happening to you, you become jaded, and you really don't see the struggle of other black people. You don't. I would walk past a homeless person, I would never see him. They didn't they didn't come into my consciousness.
Hmm.
After doing after doing the play about Martin Luther King, I started seeing homeless people. I started seeing injustice to my
Yes, sir.
community.
So then,
And,
in relation to my question about the epiphany, it's something that it's like when the light bulb comes on and you
mhm,
say, "I can see now."
right,
All right,
exactly.
let me share with you a quote from Dr. Carver.
Okay.
How far you go in life depends on your being tender with young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong. Because someday in life you will have been all of these. Have you ever heard that quote from him before?
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't read it. It's like a person who could do in your capacity. I wish
No,
he, I wish I had said, please have it in front of you, but I kind of spoiled it.
no,
Uh,
no, no. You read it with humility, and that's what Doctor. I mean, that's what Dr. Carver was all about.
yes, sir.
There was great humility. So no, you didn't need an actor to try to
Okay.
read.
Well,
Yeah,
let's talk about him. He was born to the term today is enslaved, but he
right,
was born a slave. Could you give
right.
us a little background on that?
Absolutely. You know, George Washington Carver, he rose up from slavery to become, one of the greatest agricultural scientists on earth. And as an agricultural scientist, he's best known for developing crop rotation methods for conserving nutrients in soil and discovering hundreds of new uses for crops such as peanuts and sweet potatoes. You know, he really is a phenomenal agricultural scientist.
Yes, sir.
Um, and this, one of the things that broke my heart was, he never knew his mother or his father. He was actually traded for a horse as a baby.
Say that again.
He was traded for a horse, a broken down racehorse, as a baby. So when he was a baby, um, he was there was a trade when the raiders had kidnapped George Washington Carver's mother and the baby. When 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 the when the slave owner sent went out to try to find the slave Mary, George's mother, they couldn't find George's mother, but they were able to find the baby.
Hmm.
And so the slave owner, Moses Carver,
Yes, sir.
he made a deal with the raiders. He said, listen, he said, I'll give you this horse for the baby.
Mm,
And the baby was George Washington Carver.
wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, uh, you said his name was Moses,
Yes.
and he had a wife. What was his wife's name? Could you?
Yes. His wife's name was Susan, and I'm glad that you asked about the wife because Moses Carver reluctantly went out to get the baby and to get Mary, but his wife Susan, George's mother Mary, Susan Carver loved Mary, her slave
Hmm.
girl, and so she told her husband, she said, "You got to go and get Mary. You got to bring her back, or you ain't going to eat. I'm not cooking. I'm not doing nothing." She was shutting everything down until he went, and he did it begrudgingly.
Yes,
He
sir.
went out. He went out there, and as a matter of fact, he was very he was a very cruel slave master, and he did not like George Washington Carver
Mm,
because George Washington Carver, as a boy, he was a handsome lad. He
yes,
was
sir.
tall, and one of the things that people don't, none of the white historians ever talk about, is the fact that George Washington Carver was castrated when he was about 12 years old.
Say that again.
So George Washington Carver was castrated when he was about 12 years old
Mm,
by
no.
Moses Carver.
Wow.
So
Unbelievable.
yeah, so strangely, the and I hate to say this, but I have to. There's no other way I can say it. The white historians, um, they never mention that. However, the new generation of historians, they want to paint George Washington Carver as being a homosexual,
Yes, sir.
because of his high pitched voice and the fact that he never was married, never had any children. But I talked to some doctors here recently, and what they told me was they said if you get castrated when you're 12 years old, you're going to have a high pitched voice for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
If you get castrated at 21, your voice will be normal.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that. I
Well,
just I just found that out.
we are about 4 to 5 minutes before, and I appreciate you taking your time. You mentioned that he did become a world-class scientist,
Right.
and he started something I think it's called the Jessup wagon
Yes.
that's still active today, if I'm not mistaken. And
That that I don't know, but
yes, yes, sir, yes, sir. I did a
okay.
little looking into it, and
Okay.
he was at the. Can you tell us the listeners where he practiced his craft and what caused him to become an international scientist?
It was at the Tuskegee Institute at the time.
Oh,
You
and
know, they
that's the famous one with Booker T. Washington.
yes,
O-
it's now known as Tuskegee University.
Okay. Well, as I said, we're closing in on the last few minutes. As a young person, and you said he was castrated at what age?
At 12 years old.
Oh, well, I was told that he didn't do field work. Could you talk about that quickly?
Yes. One of the things that people also don't know is that George Washington Carver was very frail as a young boy, and I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but he was too frail to work out in the field, and so he was in the house, and when he wasn't in the house, he would go out into the countryside and study butterflies and plants, and eventually he would even talk to the plants.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so yeah, the reason that he didn't work as a slave and picking cotton and that sort of thing was he was just too frail to do it.
Okay. And he was an artist as well. Isn't that correct?
Yes, he was a gifted a painter. He enjoyed pottery. He enjoyed knitting.
Mm-hmm.
Susan Carver spent an enormous amount of time teaching him how to be a really good cook, teaching him actually how to be self-sufficient.
Yes, sir.
Um, and when he left the Carver's home, he worked as a domestic in people's houses where he would clean and cook and do the things that a butler would do.
Yes, sir. Well, we are just about out of time and we have only scratched the surface. Uh, you did mention what would be considered the darkest period of his life, having been castrated. How does that term castration apply to people today, particularly Afro-descendant men? Does it or does it not apply?
I, as it relates to George Washington Carver, I don't think so because people have no, they can't conceive. There are many people today that do not believe that George Washington Carver was castrated.
Yes, sir.
I mean, over the years, I've had people, I've written, I don't know, 20, 30 essays on George Washington Carver. And I've had people to write to me and say, well, how do you know he was castrated? Um, and that's a good question, okay? what happened was when he died and they took his body to the funeral home, the the people who the morticians, when they removed his clothes, they found out he had no genitals.
Yes, sir.
And everything makes sense for him not to have been married, not to have any children, the high pitched voice, in addition to when he traveled, by train,
Yes, sir.
he would have two train cars. And he was very adamant about you couldn't come into his space, into his living space, because of the castration.
Yes, sir.
There's certain things that altered his life where he had to have privacy,
Yes, sir.
you know. And he would rather people think that he was a homosexual than to know that he was castrated.
Yes, sir. Let's not end on this. There's a story about a suit. Could you tell the audience about
Oh,
the suit?
absolutely. Well, in 19, I think it's 1921, they invited Dr. Carver to come speak before Congress, and someone on the committee they were bringing him to Washington. They decided that every time they saw him or saw a picture of him, he had on this old suit with one of the buttons broken off, and so they got his measurement from, I guess, Booker T, and they sent him a brand new suit. And he got the package in the mail, and when he opened it up, he saw the suit, and then he went to his desk and he pulled out a piece of paper and he sent a note to the Congress, and the note read, "Listen to the suit," and he sent the suit back to Washington.
So he was quite evolved as a human being.
Well, the thing is that makes me feel good is that he he was a militant in his own way.
Yes,
And
sir.
his, he was not a pushover. He was not, he wasn't going to let anybody walk on him. Even when we think about the fact that Thomas Edison offered him $200,000 to come work for him, and he told Thomas Edison, he said, I would, I appreciate the offer. He said, but my people, they need me.
Yes,
My
sir.
my black people at Tuskegee, they need me. So I'm not going to take the money. I'm going to stay at Tuskegee.
Well,
And
with
that
that,
$200,000 is a
mhm.
lot of money.
No, it's beyond a lot of money in the
Yeah,
20s. It's quite a
yeah,
great fortune. And then
exactly.
he would be paid what 100,000 each year afterwards.
Yes,
But it
the
was
two
a
hundred
measure of
thousand was
control.
was a signing bonus.
Yes, sir.
He
So
was
he
going
was
to
a
make
real all star. But
yeah.
now, since you brought that up, I can't let you leave without relating the incident of him and Henry Ford.
Okay.
Could you make a comment about their relationship or lack thereof and so forth?
Yeah, well, Henry, all of the white intellectuals and all of the inventors and power brokers in America were paying attention to George Washington Carver. And Henry Ford, he went down to Tuskegee to see Dr. Carver. And Dr. Carver taught him a lot. As a matter of fact, Dr. Carver was the one who introduced Henry Ford to this idea of mass manufacturing. And this is why they call a manufacturing plant a plant,
Yes, sir.
because Dr. Carver showed him the way of a plant, how a plant operates, the actual plant,
Yes, sir.
and the different stems and how they're interrelated, and but they work as one. And Henry Ford went back to Detroit and he began to mass produce automobiles.
Okay. Sounds like Dr. Carver gave Henry Ford the idea for the uh, assembly plant.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Well, we have gone over, and
Okay.
I hope that you will allow me to speak with you about Dr. Carver another time. Is there any final comment you'd like to make?
Yes, I want to say this, and I try to do this quick. George Washington Carver is the only American that had two U.S. naval ships named after him. He was the only Black American that I know of that has a coin in his image. He has a 50-cent piece, which is valued today at $1,000.
Mm,
There were more schools named after George Washington Carver than any other American living or dead. Um, he has two U.S. postage stamps in his image.
yes, sir.
No other American has that. White America has honored George Washington Carver more than any other American in the history of America.
Mm. Well,
I have never
mhm,
said that before,
yes, sir.
but I'm saying it. You can take any 20 presidents and put them all together and put them up on a step ladder, and they can't tie George Washington Carver's shoe.
Wow. Mr. Michaud, I just want to say this before I go. I
Okay.
am a graduate of an elementary school named in his honor.
Oh my.
And I really thank you for enlightening me on him and letting me know how great an individual he was. So thank you so much for visiting with us. And I hope to have you again on the program.
I hope to come back soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is the Invisible Man, and I'm speaking with Miss Ida Hakeem, who's going to talk to us about going to the United Nations with the Honorable Cyrus Muhammad and his wife, Attorney Harriet Abu Bakr. How are you, Miss Hakeem?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm happy to go through what we achieved.
All right, so you can start there. Please tell the audience what it was like to be at the UN and the type of work that you did with the Honorable Cyrus Muhammad and his wife, Attorney Harriet Abu Bakr, please.
All right. I will. I'm going to. Well, we'll start with Mr. Muhammad and Attorney Abu Bakr had already been to The Hague, and they had already done a 1503 petition to the United Nations when Mr. Muhammad asked me to create a non-governmental organization that had consultative status. Consultative is a big deal. You get to talk directly to the experts, and you get to present your thoughts in writing as well. And it took about 5 years, but in 97, the consultative status was established, and Mr. Muhammad wrote a message to the subcommission. Interestingly, within a matter of a very short time, an invitation came back to attend the Working Group on Minorities. Now, 3 of the experts in the Working Group on Minorities were strongly in Mr. Muhammad's corner throughout. That would be Professor Eid from Norway, Professor Jose Bengoa from Chile, and Professor Mustafa Mahedi from Morocco. When we spoke, after the written intervention, we were invited to go to the Working Group on Minorities, and we spoke at the Working Group on Minorities. And it was fascinating in that Mr. Muhammad was actually asked, what took you so long to get here? They were waiting to hear the situation with regard to Afrodescendants.
Now, that's a term, Afrodescendant.
Yeah.
That's a term to identify a group of people.
Yeah, the term Afrodescendant had not been created yet. I just used it because it's, in my mind, the identity of the descendants of people who underwent chattel slavery, rising up and bringing their case to the UN, is the term that we completed with was Afrodescendant.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'll go ahead and use that. And speaking to the Working Group on Minorities, Mr. Muhammad always asked for the United Nations to create a forum for Afrodescendant leaders from across South, Central, and North America to meet together with interpreters so that the situation could be discussed. Mm-hmm. Because every descendant of enslaved Africans has lost their identity. And after transgenerational slavery, the desire to know who I am became very strong.
Yes,
who
ma'am.
am I?
Yes, ma'am.
And and so that the first intervention before the Working Group on Minorities went very well. After that, we attended the World Conference Against Racism in Durban, South Africa, and at that meeting, Mr. Muhammad spoke again.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
He asked for the same thing. He wanted a forum for the leaders to be able to meet together to discuss the damages, the human rights damages that were done to the descendants of the enslaved men and women. And so his prayer for a forum went out immediately. And the argument, of course, was that we don't have our human rights. We don't have our identity. We don't know our lineage. We don't know where we came from. We don't know what our religion was. We know nothing about who we were. All the identity that existed in chattel slavery was I'm a slave. And that's it.
Well, let me stop you. I'm going to read the definition of Afrodescendant. If I may, I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay, put it up on the screen.
Afrodescendant. The term Afrodescendant refers to descendants of peoples who, number one, were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland, Africa. Two, were transported to the slavery diaspora for the purpose of enslavement, were subjected to slavery, were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape, have experienced through force the loss of mother tongue, and as I completed, and religion. And the last one is, and or have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties or partially lost ties from their original identity. So what you're saying is, when you were with the Honorable Saad Muhammad and attorney Harriet Abubakar, you were fighting for this to be the new identity for the people who have been plantation slave slaves. Yes, ma'am. Our people. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Muhammad, always in his interventions, he mentioned the destruction of original identity, and he also mentioned his desire for a forum. And thanks to the subcommissioners who were always in his corner, Mr. Bengoa of Chile organized a forum to take place in Honduras. So we traveled to Honduras. The United Nations had interpreters around the table, and leaders, black leaders from 19 different countries across the Americas region were there in the room. And the discussion went on among these leaders as to what identity do we want to be known by. You know, that this was discussed from the very first forum. And Mr. Muhammad said that he was in favor of the name Lost Found Peoples. Some of the leaders agreed with him, some of them did not, and some of them argued we already have a term that we use. This would be in various South American countries. We call ourselves Afro-Cuban, Afro-Honduran, and why can't we be known as Afro-descendants? The term Afro-descendants was accepted and by all of the members in the conference room in Honduras.
Yes, ma'am.
The term Afro-descendant, the leaders decided that yes, we will be known as Afro-descendants. Now, a definition was needed. You read that definition, and it's quite clear. The reason that final sentence is there with partially lost ties is that we were also meeting with the Garifuna people who had not completely lost their ties. The Garifuna people were in Honduras, and they still maintained some of their African identity. So they were included in the last sentence, lost ties or partially lost ties.
Yes, ma'am.
So that was added to the definition at the meeting, and the creator of the definition was Attorney Harriet Abubakar and Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and they brought it to me. I wanted to type it up somewhere, but there was no typewriter, so I hand wrote it as well as I could. And Mr. Muhammad took it to an evening meeting of all of the leaders, where they went through the definition and discussed it. And at that point in time, the Honduras forum came to an end. It came to an end with the term Afro-descendant and with the definition written. The leaders wanted an additional forum, and the United Nations created one. Mr. Bengoa again saw to it that we could attend a forum in, oh my goodness, where goes my brain? Our second forum, first one was in Honduras, and the second one, good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chincha, Peru.
Yes, ma'am.
And we went to Chincha, Peru. We all of the experts or all of the Afro-descendant leaders were in the room there as well.
Yes,
they continued to discuss the identity and the various issues dealing with the loss of identity.
Yes, ma'am.
And,
let me stop you right there because you're getting too detailed. I got two more questions. I want to ask you, how did your work in the UN affect your life?
It had a very great effect. I was, we traveled to Geneva 3 times a year at minimum, and we also went to various conferences. I had my husband, Khalid Hakim, and my sons, Kareem and Shamsuddin, were without a mom for a couple weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And they made it through okay, but it was, had an impact on the family, that's for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
For me, I consider what I have been able to, how I've been able to help as an incredible blessing. I am so grateful that I could help in this cause and continue to be grateful because, at the Chincha, Peru meeting, the leaders wanted another forum. They wanted to meet together again so they could finalize things.
Yes,
and at that very time, the United States of America decided that the UN needed to be reorganized. What happened was that they closed all 3 bodies that were helping Afro-descendants. They closed the Working Group on Minorities, they closed the Subcommission on the Promotion and Protection of Human Rights, and they closed the Commission on Human Rights. So all the bodies were closed. It was a very sad day. I remember in the lounge, the experts. Oh, yes, there was one more expert that was helping us from Cuba. Yeah, he was an advocate as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Subcommission. Yeah.
Well,
So,
I hate to stop you, Miss Hakeem, but I have one more question.
Oh, okay.
Now, this one, take a moment before you answer. How does it feel to be a modern-day abolitionist? Because that's what you are.
Yeah, well,
yes, ma'am.
It feels like I'm on the right spot. It feels like I'm doing the right thing. The abolitionists were strongly opposed to slavery. They took a stand and they made it clear. And I'm personally proud of the work done by the abolitionists. And I hope someday that people are proud of the work done by us as well.
Yes, ma'am. I certainly appreciate you taking the time to reflect. But again, this premiere podcast is about identity. So you help set the stage for people to understand how it came into being. And I thank you, and I hope that you will come back for a subsequent visit on
I'd love to.
Invisible Man.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Hakeem. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
I will, and you too.
Yes,
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Here are 3 shots deliberately blurred where the blind man met the invisible man. Shot number 1 is the extreme wide shot with a person standing where the incident took place, and a pedestrian is entering the frame on camera right. Shot 2 shows the entire area busy with people and motorized vehicles. Shot 3 is the spot the invisible man stood. Look, there is someone approaching the person in the photo. Now, the unedited blind man meets the invisible man with commentary to follow. Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead. Get out of my way.
No, sir.
Excuse me, please.
I told you to take 2 steps to your left.
You don't tell me what to do.
around.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
Excuse me?
Excuse me. Who the fuck do you think you are?
You're very uncivilized.
I asked you politely, and
No,
you said
didn't,
you even
sir.
said I was polite.
No, sir.
And you still refuse to get out of my
Take
way.
2 steps.
Okay, let's
to
try
your
being
left.
polite. Let's try being polite.
Take
Would you
2
excuse me?
steps
Would you
to your
please get out of
left
my way?
and go on about your business.
Would you please get out of my way?
Take 2 steps.
See,
to
being
your
polite
left.
doesn't work with a fucking cunt like you, does it?
Take 2 steps to your left.
Do you mind getting out of my way, please?
Take 2 steps to your left, sir.
Take 2 steps to your right, and I'll go about my business.
No, sir. I was standing here.
What's your problem? What's your problem? Seriously. You fail to accept the fact that I need to be in contact with the wall to know where I am?
Take 2 steps to your left.
And then I can't reach the wall, can I?
Sure you can.
How can I if I take 2 steps to the wall?
You know how to use your stick, man.
Why are you like this? What really went wrong with your life? Seriously, what was the trauma in your life that made you like this? Should we try play it again? Excuse me, will you get out of my way?
Take 2 steps to your left, sir, and go ahead on
Will you get
about
out of
your
my way,
business.
sir?
No, you have been very foul-mouthed, and you think that I'm subservient to you.
Foul mouth doesn't work.
I'm not subservient
Neither does
to
being.
you.
I'm not subservient to you either.
Okay.
You keep saying take 2 steps to your right, like you're ordering me around.
Do what you got to do.
I am doing what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
Mind if I ask your name? Do you mind if I ask your name? Should we just go with fucking cunt? Yeah, let's go with fucking cunt. Excuse me. Do you mind moving out of my way?
Enjoy your day, sir.
Bye, Con.
This is the Invisible Man, and I'm here with Dr. Robert L. Cosby, the Assistant Dean of Administration, who's also the Director of Multidisciplinary Gerontology, the Center. And it's at Howard University School of Social Work here in Washington, D.C. I'm going to ask him a few questions about social work, but I did share with him the information that was shown about the blind man. And so I'd just like to have him give his take. Please, sir, what was your take on the blind man?
Well, thank you very much for asking me to speak with you. I'd be glad to offer my thoughts. So the interaction between the invisible man and the blind man was a difficult conversation. You could observe it. You could see that both individuals seem to be fairly intransigent in their perspectives, but the issues are, I think, a little more complex once you sort of look more deeply at the interaction. The first of the pieces is this is a blind man who I think is not been blind for a very long time, based upon the way in which he carried himself and the way in which he was trying to make sure he stayed close to the wall. That would indicate that he didn't feel as comfortable with his cane. He didn't have a seeing eye dog with him or other working animals, so I don't know whether that was an issue for him, but he obviously was independent, or he would have been traveling with someone else. The fact that he wanted the invisible man to move as opposed to the blind man moving said a lot about the community and about the setting. I don't know if there were other people observing the interaction, but it quickly seemed to escalate from two individuals who were strangers to a demand, in part, by the blind man to get out of his way. In another setting, I might have said something that my father told me often, which was, sometimes you can be right and still be wrong. In this instance, I believe that the blind man may have been wrong in his abruptness. He certainly was wrong in his cursing, but the ability to be able to move ahead and to do some of the things he wanted to do had to smack of a bit of elitism, if not outright belief in, I guess, cultural superiority, perhaps. And he was looking at voices and listening to voices. He wanted to know the name. He didn't share his name, but he wanted the invisible man to share what was his name. And that didn't go well. And so the problem that I think that you have when you have two people that are not willing to communicate in a positive fashion is pretty much what happened. And I think that it was positive in that the invisible man decided not to escalate, but it could easily have gotten out of hand. But there's no good answer. It's in some ways like someone asking you the question, are you still beating your wife? You can't answer with a good answer, because that answer is going to show that you have either not been considerate, or that you had previous history of abuse, or that you did some things. And in this case, the blind man is trying to go about his business, or so you would believe. The invisible man, you don't know what were his circumstances. He may have had packages or other things that were around him, and so to move all of those things might have required some issue. But there's also something else about the demand in which that person's voice seemed to indicate that you need to get out of his way. And if you go back some time in American history, there was a time when black folks were supposed to step off of the curb to allow someone who was white to pass on before stepping back onto the sidewalk. And so, you know, people remember that, people of color. Black folk remember what it was like for themselves or family members. If they were older, they might have remembered some of those issues. And we recognize that things could have devolved into something that was not very, very good. There are a lot more pieces to it, but I'll stop there because I think you understand what I'm saying.
I'd like to ask you, in the field of social work and the understanding of it, just what is social work?
Social work has been around for a number of years. It has grown out of sociology. It is the study of providing social support, social work to members of the community. Here at Howard University at the School of Social Work, there are what we think of as pillars of the black experience or the black perspective. Those 6 pillars of the black perspective are ones that we think of in our teaching of graduate students to be MSWs and to go forward and to do work in the community. In the 1930s, people like E. Franklin Frazier helped in getting the School of Social Work started in social work, and that was in 1935. And we just have had our 90th anniversary that has taken place this year. And so we've had an opportunity to think through and look at a variety of things in social work that you might otherwise not have considered. So social work has a long history. The areas of the black perspective include social justice, diversity, internationalization, strengths, and the last 2, vivification, which is now inclusion, and also we think of equity. And so those are all the important pieces that we think are important to remember. It's not just about helping black folk, even though that is where we are here at Howard University. It's from a globalization perspective. We look at helping people that are oppressed, that have been disenfranchised, and looking at ways to be able to assist them in their life experience. So I'll stop there in terms of what is social work.
Thank you very much, sir. Why do we need social work or social workers or people? Do they basically help you with their problem, your problems? What really does what does a social worker do?
Social workers, as I tell some of my students in my teaching, that a social worker can do just about anything that they would like to do with a social work degree, except for rocket science or medicine, but they have been successful in terms of working in healthcare settings, working in communities to empower local folks to be able to work on things. There are 2 areas we think of when we talk about social work. One is, or actually 3, one is a macro perspective. Here at the School of Social Work, we refer to that as a community organization, policy, planning, and administration. And so we work on those issues on that side. We also work on direct practice issues on the micro side, all of those things, working with individuals and families and looking at human behavior and social environments. We also work at areas where we are giving people an opportunity to understand displaced populations and work with people in ways that might otherwise not have been considered as they relate to abuse, or as they relate to looking at substance use and misuse. or as we look at mental health concerns, or as we look at ways in which people in communities are disenfranchised, such as with gun violence or with communities that are unable to work collaboratively. So we do those things, but in addition to that, we also work with families and communities through schools, through, as I mentioned, mental health settings, in addition to primary care, tertiary care, and other settings that you would think of mostly for medicine. There are social workers who work on discharge plans, work on meeting the needs of people that have been discharged from the hospital and going back into the community, people that are making it or trying to remain independent while they're in the community. Those are all parts of what social workers do. And we are all over the globe. Here in the United States, we have, I believe the number is a little under 400,000. But we have a great need in the community to be able to work with folks. We have, I believe, about 300 colleges and universities in the United States that have social work degree programs, and we are one of those. Howard University School of Social Work is currently ranked number 12 according to the U.S. News and World Report. And so we have a storied history. I mentioned E. Franklin Frazier, but there have been a variety of others that have worked on these issues.
That's very comprehensive. If there is anything that you could let the audience know about how social work has changed or affected society for the last few minutes, we have a couple of minutes left. Is there a real need for social work in society today?
Well, I would say there is a tremendous need. All you have to do is look at the federal government and look at the current administration to understand just in this metropolitan Washington area, well over 150, closer to 200,000 people have lost their jobs. That's a lot of people in the DMV, Maryland, Virginia, District of Columbia. I believe the number is 85,000 just in Maryland alone. You know, how are these families going to be able to pay their bills? I'm a gerontologist by background, and so when I talk about the Gerontology Center and the things that we do, we work with grandparents raising grandchildren. We work with people that have not been able to help themselves, maybe due to self-neglect, maybe they are abused or have had other issues of financial exploitation, etc. This is the time for social work now, more than ever before. If you were to ask me as we drill down, we have families in need, we have SNAP benefits that are not being provided for children and older persons. We have people that are just trying to say, as they say in the community, when you ask a person who may be struggling to make it, you just say, just trying to maintain, bruh, just trying to maintain. They may be trying, but are they succeeding? And so when I think about those issues, I think we have to recognize that the time is right for social work to be able to expand, because the needs are going to be greater, are currently greater than they've been in a long time, going back to the 1950s and 1960s, for example. There are a lot of policies that are being changed, many laws being exploited, violence in places that previously didn't have any. We have to look at ways of being able to lessen the violence. One of my books or monographs that I recently did last year dealt with trying to be able to look at gun violence and ways in which we can prevent it. And that starts with community, reducing social isolation and other areas such as that.
Okay, your final comment in less than a minute. What is it that you'd like people to know about what you do and how you can go about teaching people to do social work?
Well, I think that there are states have levels of accreditation where you have to be licensed in order to be able to practice. As a social worker, that involves insurance and being able to bill for services. Um, we have a master's program and a PhD program here at the School of Social Work at Howard University, and we encourage people who are interested in that to get involved. If they are looking at a traditional program, it will take them about 2 years to get through the program of graduate study to get a master's in social work. And then if they are interested in PhD work and want to go into the professoriate, as they refer to it, to teach, they can do that. So it's a big thing, but we're very glad that people are in social work, and we encourage people to want to do more.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cosby, for taking the time. But next time we'll have to talk about how you can help the invisible man be kinder.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Invisible Man, and I'm speaking with 2 American university students here in Washington, D.C., who happen to see the Invisible Man meets the blind man, and they're going to give their reactions.
I have to say, nervous being on film, but seeing that video, it's a lot of what matters to me is culture and the culture of existence. No matter what group you are, whether you're blind or black, blind men and black men can coexist. No matter who you are, man or woman. To me, the video was about pride in your identity. And sorry, I'm a little nervous. But pride in your identity and pride in being comfortable in your skin, no matter who you are.
I agree. And in looking at the Invisible Man and the situation with the blind man, I sort of see a connection to Afro-pessimism, where being black in America puts you in this perpetual state of social death, where people see you as being invisible in civil society, and how the blind man treated the invisible man in this situation sort of gives a clear vision of that and how that idea manifests into society. So, I really think that this video was a very thoughtful video that
I'd agree.
Brings clarity to people on this true state of the world.
Absolutely, and I'd agree. As a Hispanic man, I come from a little bit of a different perspective, but the message stays the same. No matter if it's Afro-pessimism, if you're black, if you're blind, if you're Hispanic or you're white, the message stays the same, and that everyone has unique, different experiences. Whether you're being told to step aside, no matter who you are, just be who you are.
This is the Invisible Man, and I'm standing here about to hear what Miss KB thinks of the blind man and meets the invisible man. Please, what do you see? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interaction where, a man may have been motivated by, racial animus and causing, an issue on the street. And to me, it just shows the divided nature of our country, of like what Trump's racist policies do, and how that can affect us in everyday life. Just simply trying to walk down the street, minding our own business, and being accosted because we won't move out the way or something like that. But it just shows the greater need for us to rise above it.
Invisible Man 733 presents premiere podcast. Introduce the name Afrodescendant to you by a person who was at the United Nations Forum. This is only the first part about identity. Part 2 will focus more on what it really means, the different names we as a people were called before we chose to name ourselves. Thank you for viewing, and get ready for more programming. Video evidence of the encounter of the blind man meets Invisible Man 733 was recorded February 3rd, 2024. When he was told, do what you have to do, he resolutely refused to take a simple instruction given to him by Invisible Man 733. The unedited video shows packages already on the sidewalk, which could have potentially caused his harm. But his focus was on being what can only be described as a blank. Like, subscribe, and share. Invisible Man 733 presents.